You just got a job offer, $30 an hour. You do the math in your head. That's $62,400 a year. You're excited. You accept. You tell your friends you're making 30 an hour, and it sounds successful. It sounds like you've made it. Fast forward 6 months. You're working 45 hours a week because that's just what everyone does. You're commuting an hour each way. You bought work clothes because your old stuff wasn't professional enough. You're eating lunch out most days because you don't have time to pack. You're exhausted on weekends and spending money to cope, buying takeout because you're too tired to cook, getting drinks with coworkers because that's how you decompress. And somehow, despite making 30 an hour, you have $900 in your checking account and no idea where all the money went. Here's what nobody tells you. That $30 an hour, after you account for taxes, unpaid time, work-related expenses, and the hidden costs of employment, you're actually making about $4 to $7 per hour of your actual life. And most people never do this math. They just accept the number on the offer letter and wonder why they're always broke despite having a good job. My name is Bob, and I spend way too much time thinking about the real hourly rate of employment and why so many people are working themselves to death for a fraction of what they think they're earning. If you're someone who has a decent salary but constantly feels broke, or if you can't figure out why you're not getting ahead despite working so hard, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're going to calculate your real hourly rate, not the fake number on your paycheck, not the hourly rate your employer tells you, the actual dollar amount you're earning per hour of your real life, after accounting for everything employment actually costs you. And I'm warning you right now, this number is going to make you angry. Good. That anger might finally get you to do something about it. Let's start with the obvious. You make $30 an hour. Your employer tells you that's $62,400 a year. Clean, simple, easy to understand. Except that's not what you make. That's what your employer pays for your labor. What you actually take home is radically different. Here's the thing. When employers quote you an hourly rate or salary, they're quoting the cost to them, not the benefit to you. It's like a car dealership advertising the MSRP and acting like that's what you'll pay, when the actual out-the-door price after taxes, fees, and registration is 15 to 20% higher. But in your case, the number goes the opposite direction. You're not paying more than advertised, you're receiving less. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average worker loses about 30% of their gross pay to taxes before they even see it. Federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, Medicare, it's all gone before the direct deposit hits. So that $30 an hour immediately becomes about $21 an hour in actual take-home pay. But we're just getting started. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Bob, yeah, taxes suck, but everyone knows about taxes. This isn't news. And you're right, but here's what most people don't calculate. All the time you spend on work that you're not getting paid for. You work 40 hours a week, right? Wrong. You work 40 hours a week at your desk. But what about your commute? 1 hour each way, 10 hours per week. Getting ready for work, 30 minutes per day, 2.5 hours per week. Decompressing after work because you're mentally drained, 1 hour per day, 5 hours per week. Sunday night anxiety and preparing for the week, 2 hours per week. That's 19.5 additional hours that are consumed by your job but that you're not getting paid for. Add that to your 40-hour work week and you're actually giving 59.5 hours of your life to employment. So let's recalculate. You make $62,400 a year. After 30% taxes, that's $43,680 take-home. Divided by 52 weeks, that's $840 per week. Divided by 59.5 hours of life consumed by work is $14.12 per hour of your actual life. And we've already cut your $30 an hour in half, and we're not done. Look, here's where it gets really interesting. Because you don't just lose time to your job, you lose money. Let's calculate the real costs of employment. Commuting. If you drive 30 miles round trip 5 days a week at the IRS standard mileage rate of $0.67 per mile, which accounts for gas, maintenance, depreciation, that's $20.10 per day, $100.50 per week, or $5,226 per year. Work clothes and dry cleaning. Even if you're not buying suits, you need professional clothes. Conservative estimate, $1,200 per year. Lunches and coffee. You tell yourself you'll pack lunch. You don't. Average $12 per day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, $3,000. The exhaustion tax. This is the big one people don't count. When you're exhausted from work, you spend money to cope. Takeout instead of cooking, $150 per week, or $8,720 per year. Convenience purchases because you don't have time to shop smart, $2,000 per year. Total annual work-related expenses, $19,226. So your $43,680 take-home minus $19,226 in work expenses leaves you with $24,454 in actual purchasing power. Divided by 52 weeks, that's $470.27 per week. Divided by 59.5 hours of life consumed by work is $7.90 per hour. Your $30 an hour job pays you $7.90 per hour of your actual life, and we're still not accounting for everything. Here's what nobody talks about. The real cost of a job isn't just what it takes from you directly, it's what it prevents you from doing. Those 59.5 hours per week you're giving to employment, you can't use them for anything else. You can't use them to start a business. You can't use them to develop higher earning skills. You can't use them to invest sweat equity in something that could actually build wealth. Let me tell you about someone I know. She was making $28 an hour as a marketing coordinator. Decent job, decent pay. But she had a skill. She was incredible at graphic design. People kept asking her to do freelance work on the side. She ran the numbers. She could charge $75 an hour for freelance design work. She was getting 10 hours of requests per week. That's $750 per week she was turning down because she was too exhausted from her $28 an hour job to take on freelance work. After accounting for taxes and expenses, her $28 an hour job was really paying her about $9 an hour of real life. Meanwhile, she was passing up freelance work that would net her about $50 an hour after expenses. She was trading $50 an hour opportunities for $9 an hour reality because she couldn't see past the $28 on her offer letter. Here's what most people don't realize. When you take a traditional job, you're not just accepting what they'll pay you. You're also accepting that you won't have time or energy for potentially more lucrative opportunities. This is the opportunity cost trap, and it's costing you way more than you think.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, Bob, so traditional employment is a bad deal. Why doesn't everyone just quit? Because of the benefits. The health insurance, the 401k match, the paid vacation, the stability. These are the golden handcuffs that keep you locked into accepting $7.90 an hour when you could be making more. Let's actually calculate what those benefits are worth. You get health insurance that costs your employer $500 per month. You get a 6% 401k match on your $62,400 salary, which is $3,744 per year. You get 2 weeks paid vacation worth $2,400. Total annual benefit value, $6,000 plus $3,744 plus $2,400 is $12,144. Okay, so add that back to your $24,454 net income. You're up to $36,598 in total compensation after expenses. $36,598 divided by 52 weeks equals $703.81 per week. $703.81 divided by 59.5 hours per week equals $11.83 per hour of your actual life. Better than $7.90, but still less than $12 an hour. And this assumes those benefits are actually worth what your employer says they're worth, which is debatable. That employer-sponsored health insurance, You could buy a similar plan on the healthcare marketplace for $400 to $450 per month. The 401k match is real value, but you're selling 59.5 hours of your life to get $72 a week in matching funds. Here's the trap. These benefits feel substantial because they're presented in annual numbers that sound big. $62,000 in health insurance, $3,744 in matching. But when you divide them across the actual hours of your life you're trading, they're not that impressive. All right, let's put this all together with a real example and get to your true hourly rate. You make $30 an hour, which is $62,400 annually, 40 hours times 52 weeks. Step 1. Calculate after-tax take-home. Gross is $62,400. After 30% taxes is $43,680. Step 2. Calculate actual hours consumed. Work is 40 hours a week, commute is 10 hours a week, prep time is 2.5 hours a week, recovery time is 5 hours a week, weekend prep and anxiety is 2 hours a week. Total 59.5 hours a week. Step 3. Work-related expenses. Commuting is $5,226 per year. Work clothes is $1,200 per year. Work meals is $3,000 per year. Exhaustion tax, or convenience costs, is $9,800 per year. Total, $19,226 per year. Step 4. Add back benefits value. Health insurance is $6,000 per year. 401k match is $3,744 per year. Paid vacation is $2,400 per year. Total, $12,144 per year. Final calculation, take home is $43,680, minus work expenses is negative $19,226, plus benefits is $12,144, net value is $36,598. $36,598 divided by 52 weeks equals $703.81 per week. $703.81 divided by 59.5 hours per week equals $11.83 per hour of your actual life. Your $30 an hour job pays you $11.83 per hour. You're making 39% of what you think you're making. And this is assuming you're only working 40 hours a week at your desk. If you're salaried and actually working 50 hours a week, the math gets even worse. Here's the thing. We know something is off. You can feel it. You make good money, but you're always broke. You work hard, but you're not getting ahead. Deep down, you know the math isn't mathing, but we accept it anyway. Why? Because of 3 psychological traps. Trap number 1, the big number illusion. $62,000 sounds like a lot of money. When someone asks what you make, you say $62,000, and it feels successful. You don't say, I net about $12 an hour of my actual life, because that sounds depressing. We're psychologically wired to respond to big, round numbers. Employers know this. That's why they always present compensation in annual terms, not in terms of actual hourly value to you. Trap number 2, the sunk cost fallacy. You already invested time getting this job. You already bought the work clothes. You already established the routine. Walking away feels like admitting you wasted all that effort. So you stay, even though staying means continuing to trade hours of your life for $12.83 when you could be potentially earning more elsewhere. Trap number 3, the stability myth. We're told that traditional employment is stable and everything else is risky, so we accept bad deals because we're afraid the alternative is worse. But here's what most people don't realize. Traditional employment is only stable until it isn't. Companies lay people off constantly. Your stable job could disappear tomorrow, and then you've got no income and no business infrastructure to fall back on. The people who think they're playing it safe by accepting $12.83 an hour are actually taking on enormous risk. The risk of building no equity, no alternative income streams, and no ownership over their time. Look, I'm not saying everyone should quit their job tomorrow, but I am saying you need to see the numbers clearly so you can make an informed decision. If your real hourly rate is $12.83, you need to ask yourself, could I create $12 plus per hour of value on my own? For a lot of people, the answer is yes. Freelancing, consulting, small business ownership, these things have costs and risks, but so does traditional employment. You're just not accounting for those costs because they're hidden. Let's say you quit your $30 an hour job and start freelancing. You charge $40 an hour and get 30 billable hours per week. After self-employment taxes, 15.3%, and income tax, let's say 20% effective rate, you're netting about $25.88 per hour. But you work from home, so no commute, no work clothes, you make lunch at home, you work when you're fresh and rest when you're tired. Let's say you spend 35 total hours per week on work, 30 billable plus 5 admin, with no additional life hours consumed. 30 hours times $22.88 equals $776.40 per week. Take home is $22.88 per hour of your actual life. That's double your $30 an hour job's real rate, and you have 24.5 more hours per week to spend on other income-generating activities, rest, or building something with equity value. Now, you might be thinking, but Bob, I don't have clients, I don't have a business, I can't just start freelancing. And you're right, not immediately, but here's the question. Are you using your current job to build towards something better, or are you just trading hours for $11.83 indefinitely?
All right, enough theory. Here's what you need to do this week. Step 1. Calculate your real hourly rate. Take your annual take-home pay, after taxes, subtract all work-related expenses, commute, clothes, work meals, exhaustion tax. Add back the real value of benefits. Divide by 52 weeks, then divide by the actual hours per week your job consumes. Work plus commute plus prep plus recovery. That number is your real hourly rate. Write it down. Look at it. Get angry. Step 2. Calculate your opportunity cost. What could you be doing with those 60 hours per week if you weren't employed? Could you be freelancing, building a business, learning higher value skills? Estimate what those 60 hours could generate if you used them differently. The gap between your real hourly rate and your potential alternative rate is what your job is costing you. Step 3. Make a decision. If your real hourly rate is acceptable and you're happy, great, stay. But stay with eyes wide open, knowing what you're actually earning. If your real hourly rate is unacceptable, you have two options. Option A, negotiate aggressively for remote work, reduced hours, or higher pay. Reduce the time and expense costs of employment. Option B, build an exit plan. Use your current job to fund the building of an alternative income source. Spend 10 to 15 hours per week on a side business or freelance work. Once that's generating your living expenses, quit and go full-time. Step 4. Stop lying to yourself. When people ask what you make, tell them your real hourly rate, not your fake one. This keeps you honest about where you actually stand financially. If someone asks what you make and you say $30 an hour when your real rate is $11.83, you're lying to yourself and everyone else. You're perpetuating the illusion that keeps people trapped. Here's what I need you to understand. Almost everyone is getting scammed by the way we talk about employment compensation. The system is designed to hide your real hourly rate behind big annual numbers, benefits packages, and social norms about what a good job looks like. And it works. Millions of people trade their lives for far less than they think they're earning, and they never do the math to figure out what's actually happening. According to a 2023 report by Pew Research, 64% of Americans feel they're paid less than they deserve. But when asked to calculate their real hourly rate accounting for all costs and time, almost no one can do it. They just know something feels off. That feeling is correct. Something is off. You're making a fraction of what you think you're making. And the longer you accept this without seeing it clearly, the more of your life you trade for that fraction. Look, traditional employment isn't evil. For some people, in some situations, it's the right choice. But it should be a choice you make with eyes wide open, knowing exactly what you're trading and what you're receiving. When you take a $30 an hour job that really pays you $11.83 per hour of your life, you should know that's what you're doing. Maybe you have reasons for accepting that deal. Maybe you need the stability right now. Maybe you're learning valuable skills. Maybe you're building towards something else. But if you're accepting that deal because you genuinely think you're making $30 an hour, you're being scammed. And that scam is costing you wealth, time, and opportunities that you'll never get back. So here's my challenge. This week, do the real calculation. Figure out your actual hourly rate. And if that number makes you angry, use that anger as fuel to change something. Because you can spend the next decade trading your life for $11.83 per hour while thinking you're making $30 an hour. Or you can see the numbers clearly and make an informed decision about whether that's a trade you want to keep making. A year from now, you'll either wish you'd done this math today, or you'll be grateful you did. If this video completely changed how you think about your job, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment with your real hourly rate when you calculate it. I promise you're going to be shocked. Now, go do the math. And then, go do something about it.